Welcome to This Explainer. We're jumping right into a story today that looks like a traditional folktale at first glance, right? But trust me, it very quickly turns into an incredibly gripping mystery. We're talking about the tale of three orphan sisters, Pushpa, Kadri, and the youngest, Rupa. We're going to see exactly how they faced an entire village's completely unexplained hatred, how they survived against literal, impossible odds, and how they ultimately unraveled a massive, long-hidden secret. So let's just dive right into it.
Now that is the million-dollar question here. Why on earth would an entire community turn against three incredibly vulnerable young women? Well, rather than just brushing this off as a simple fable, we are going to treat this like a true crime mystery. We'll trace how these sisters took a brutal, totally unfair eviction and turned it into an epic quest for survival, truth, and ultimate justice.
Section 1. The Sudden Eviction.
Every good mystery needs an inciting incident, and for us, it's a shockingly harsh punishment from the village Sarpanch, the headman, and the magic number here is 4. The sisters owed exactly 4 months of rent. That's it. Yet the Sarpanch gave them absolutely zero leeway. He literally drove these 3 girls out of their home. And to make matters so much worse, he did this right as a massive dark storm was brewing. I mean, the sheer cruelty and the timing of this eviction, that is our very first clue that something way deeper is going on under the surface.
Thrown out into the wilderness, the sisters didn't just give up. Actually, they showed some unbelievable resourcefulness. They systematically built a shelter from scratch. First gathering wood and leaves from the jungle, then mixing thick river mud to build up sturdy walls. And when the midnight rain started leaking in, they just innovated on the fly, slapping a super thick layer of mud right onto the roof. They fortified this durable little hut by the river literally moments before the real torrential rains hit, so physically at least, they were safe.
Section 2. Survival and Stigma.
So, while their physical shelter was rock solid against the weather, the village's hatred was a completely different kind of storm. It went way beyond some unpaid rent. Whenever the sisters went out to try and find work or supplies, the villagers met them with just pure, unfiltered hostility. People would sneer at them, tossing out these incredibly toxic, vague threats like, "You will pay for the deeds of your parents." But what deeds? Nobody would actually say. It was this classic, terrifying mob mentality, completely isolating the sisters based on nothing but whispers and rumors.
Section 3. The Deceptive Savior.
With things getting desperate and their money completely gone, the eldest sister, Pushpa, made a super bold move. She went to the village's wealthiest and supposedly most cruel man, Shamlal, to ask for a job. And this sets up such a fascinating paradox. Think about it. The official village leader, the Sarpanch, treated them with total malice and kicked them out. But Shamlal, the guy known by everyone as a tyrant, he surprisingly welcomed them with open arms. He offered them steady work and even made sure they had plenty of food.
The sisters obviously thought Shamalal was their guardian angel, a rare bright spot in a really dark place. But let's pause and think about this logically. In mysteries like the one we are unpacking today, outward kindness from an established villain, that almost always masks a much darker, ulterior motive. Keep that in the back of your mind as we keep going.
Section 4. The Great Flood.
All right, here is the massive turning point of our explainer. A totally catastrophic rainstorm hits, and it flips all the power dynamics completely upside down. Just look at the timeline of this disaster. Day 1, the heavy rain starts. By day 4, it hasn't stopped for a second, and the low-lying parts of the village are entirely swallowed by floodwaters. I mean, the whole village is uninhabitable. And by day 6, the villagers, including the Sarpanch himself, are desperately fleeing to higher ground in the jungle. They are forced to seek shelter at the exact same mud hut built by the very girls they had just shunned.
So what do the sisters do? This is crucial. Instead of getting revenge, instead of slamming the door and turning the Sarpanch and his mob away into the storm, they unconditionally take them in. It's a powerful, real-time demonstration of karma. The irony here is just absolutely wild. The villagers' cruelty led to them being washed out of their homes while the sisters' hard work provided the literal only safe haven left for everyone.
Section 5. Uncovering the Ultimate Truth. Being saved by the people you abused? That completely humbles the villagers. Completely consumed by guilt, the Sarpanch finally cracks. He confesses that years ago, the sisters' parents were accused of stealing the sacred temple treasure. The sisters are absolutely devastated, of course, but they fiercely defend their parents' honor. And right as the tension is peaking, an old priest steps out of the crowd and drops a massive plot twist. He literally yells, "I am the priest. Shamlal is the real thief." Just like that, this hidden priest's sudden testimony completely clears the family's name.
The priest spills the whole story of the frame-up. Shamulal, yep, the supposedly nice guy who gave the sisters jobs, was the actual mastermind who stole the temple treasure all those years ago. And to pull it off, he framed the sisters' father, who, get this, was actually the former sarpanch of the village. The priest saw the whole thing happen, but Shamulal threatened to kill him, forcing the poor guy into hiding for years. Suddenly, the entire puzzle clicks together. Why did Shamlal hire the sisters? He wasn't playing savior. He literally only hired them because he had only ever found half of the stolen treasure. He figured their father hid the other half before he died, and Shamlal thought that by keeping the daughters super close, eventually they would lead him right to the rest of the gold.
Armed with the truth, the villagers set a brilliant trap for the man who played them all. See, Shamlal had run off to the city to avoid the flood, so they decide to use his own massive greed as bait. First, they spread a rumor that the missing treasure has finally been dug up. Second, this instantly lures a very eager Shamlal right back to the village. And third, the second he shows up demanding his gold, the villagers are right there waiting in the square to arrest him and hand him straight to the police.
With Shamlal finally out of the picture, the oldest sister, Pushpa, suddenly remembers this weird cryptic message her late mother used to repeat. Our heritage is hidden in the courtyard. It hits her. The remaining half of the treasure wasn't lost at all. Her father had actually buried it under the courtyard of their old rented house to hide it from Shamlal. Triumphant, they dig up the courtyard, they find the gold, and they return every last piece to the temple, completely restoring their family's honor.
This whole narrative is so brilliantly structured, and it leaves us with some really vital takeaways. First off, truth ultimately prevails over deception, no matter how deep you bury it. Second, acts of kindness, like building a strong house and sheltering your literal enemies, will always outlast cruelty. And finally, a huge warning about mob mentality. Never, ever judge people based on unverified rumors or what their parents allegedly did.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. These sisters survived because they flat out refused to accept the false reality the village tried to force on them. So, when everyone around you believes a lie, do you have the courage to dig for the truth? It's a huge question about resilience and keeping your character intact when facing absolute adversity. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and hey, always keep seeking the truth.